up, Matt?
Will Poulter, I can't believe it. We didn't even know Will was coming, you guys. That's super cool.
He's so gorgeous.
He's so handsome.
Dude, we're the
But
Millers.
more than that, he's a
we're
good
the Millers
person.
is fire.
He's a good person. We start with
Good
that.
person.
He's a
Good
very
person.
good person.
Not an imposter.
I'm not sure why I'm here, because they're just going to do this the whole time.
We spend a lot of time together. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't be. Keep going. Then
No.
less work for me.
Lisa, come on.
First of all, I just want to take a second to say thank you again to Mickey, because that was really moving, and I'm from the Southeast, and he has actually saved people's lives that I know, but I just wanted to say that because it's really important what he's done. So
We love you, Mickey.
And now I want to talk about the show, mainlining PTSD to chefs' living rooms.
Let's
for
go!
Several seasons.
Let's go. Who's triggered? What up?
I think probably we'll start real smooth with just like, how did you guys get rolled into this? And I know it's probably going to be, we'll start with Coco, because I think that's the obvious place to start.
Well, I didn't really have much of a choice. My brother created the show. And my brother is Chris Storer, who is obviously family to me, but he's been the biggest inspiration in my cooking career. He was probably the only one, when I told him I was going to be a chef, that didn't tell me I was crazy. And, you know, very early on, I think, you know, when I was kind of coming into food, I had crossed paths with this guy right here. He used to sit at the counter when I was a chef at John and Vinny's, and we briefly met. And then, a couple years later, I applied to go to MAD Symposium, and I got accepted, and I was 6 years ago, sitting in the audience, not really knowing anyone. And when I went into the tent, I saw Maddie. You were also wearing a red hat then.
Got a couple red hats.
Yeah, still the same amount of tattoos. But Maddie looked out for me at MAD, and I think it's really where we became buddies, and we got to know each other. And he was hustling, and I just remember at that time he had started doing Vice. He was kind of spinning all the tops in the air, and I was like, how do you do it? And he was like, I'm just trying. I just try. I don't even know if I'm good at it. And at that MAD, it was called Mind the Gap. How many of you went to that one? Starting to feel pretty old now. But the biggest takeaway for me was building bridges. And I think Maddie was a big bridge for me in my life and really looked after me. And I remember Chris talking about, it wasn't called The Bear, it was something about Mortal Kombat or something, long story. But he was like, you know, I really want to bring in the right people. And I was like, Maddie needs to talk to you. Like, you guys need to connect. And it was the smartest thing I ever did, because not only do they work well together, but Maddie's like family to us, and it's just a gift.
Man, you are so good at connecting people. You do take really good care.
The what?
He's a
You're
connector.
very good at connecting, like just taking
You
care
know,
of people.
connecting's nice. People are nice.
Yeah.
Good ones should be together. Bad ones can fuck off. And good people should be together.
Yeah.
And Coco, I love you. You know, it's an incredible thing to see everything you've done and been a part of, and you, Lisa, like, it is amazing. People are amazing. I love them. And Chris Storer is one of those people. And he called, I don't know, it was fucking like, he called me and was just like, hey, could you consult? Like, I started off as a consultant, you know? I've had like kind of a raw dog career. And he kind of called me, and it was just kind of like, let's do this thing. Can you do this thing? And I was just like, yeah, I think I can. I don't know. Like, what is it? You know, like it is like it was daunting, like much like being here is daunting. Doing something you've never done before is scary. I believe in being scared. Scared is good. And then he asked me if I wanted to act. And then that was even like, I was just like, he's like, can you act? And I was just like, I've never fucking acted. And so then that happened, which figuring that out. But yeah, like it is like one of those.
Very well. You're doing. I mean, it's remarkable. Like,
You're a good actor, Maddie. You're a good actor.
I remember the line, like the acting. Let me tell you something. You know, acting is like I memorize. I don't know if this is the right word, phonetically, I think, or some shit. I have to just memorize the words, kind of like the alphabet.
Yeah.
And I just have to memorize the words, because then I thought at the beginning I could just kind of read the script a couple times. And then, you go in and you act.
got none of it.
You act.
Yeah.
And then he'd look at the script and he'd be like, this is stupid.
This is stupid.
This
is dumb.
I'm not saying this. I'm like, you don't have a choice, buddy.
Yeah, I don't have a choice.
Well,
And then,
I want to talk about writing. I do. I want to
Yeah.
talk about writing eventually, because we had a really good conversation about the writer's room I want to
Yeah.
get to. But the first thing I want to ask you, because I think it was Roman who said earlier, food creates a space for empathy.
yeah.
And I think that's true. I don't think it always equals empathy, but I think it does create a space for empathy. And I think there's something really deeply moving about the way that the writing is so skewed towards a real deep understanding and empathy towards what we all know, or chefs who have worked in, anybody who's worked
Yeah.
in restaurants. There's a real empathy being written into the script, into the language. The food is a character, the restaurant is a character. Can you guys talk a little bit about that development? I know that's a big question, but I think you guys have a lot to do with that, obviously. Like, you're the ones that have experienced that, and I'm just kind of curious how it goes.
Yeah, but it's of course we're a part of that, but it is the community at large. I would say Chris has the biggest cookbook collection, more than I do. He is a huge food lover and enjoys the hospitality community, but I think bigger than that, Chris and I grew up in a very dysfunctional family system, and it didn't really set us up for success. There was a lot of stigma around mental health awareness and addiction, and we couldn't really talk to anyone about it. And we didn't really have a normal family where, our parents were taking care of us. We kind of had the script flipped on us young, and we're taking care of our parents in a lot of ways. And the only families we really knew were in restaurants. And we learned so much about empathy through people kind of taking us under their wing and making us an extension of their family. And you see that so much in how the show is written. And that's really Chris and Joanna, the other showrunner. But I think the tone that I've seen Chris set in the writer's room is really that kindness and people really are what restaurants function within, and how important it is to focus in on the individual, and then also where the individual comes from, where is their magic created that they bring to the table, which is kind of, I think, what the show does a nice job doing, and it's a very complicated thing to go into. But the writers really listened to all sorts of different kinds of chefs. We opened up the writer's room to as many chefs as we could. I wish we could have even talked to more. We read cookbooks, and they read cookbooks and stories. They also had journals of mine from, while I was cooking and learning. So they tried to take it all into consideration.
So I know a lot of your personal experiences are, whether you're influencing it or not, because your brother knows your story so closely.
Yeah.
Maddie, did you bring any of that to your work? Are you trying to impart? Do you have a goal with your character, or with any of the
goal of fact?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to walk. I don't know if you've seen the show. They made me kind of where I don't know how to walk.
But you also we were talking about the writer's room, and you guys can kind of go in there and talk a little bit about the script and the reality of the script. Do you guys have any sort of personal things that you're trying to sort of accomplish with the storylines, or the messaging, or the responsibility at large? Do you feel a responsibility at large here?